My name is Sharon Rawhun, and I'm the president of Dallas Alumni, the Delta Sigma Theta chapter in Dallas, Texas, and my counterpart, Pierre Crenshaw. She's the president of Southwest Dallas County Alumni chapter. We would like to thank you for coming today to share and participate along with the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in a dialogue with our guests who represent Dallas County's local areas police departments. Delta Sigma Theta is a national public service organization with over 100 years of public service and is engaged in cultural, educational, and service activities that focus on the African American community. Across the United States, many of our chapters are coming together to address an important issue that many of our African American families are facing. How do we build cultures of trust to remove the negative stereotypes between local area police departments and residents of our respective cities? Our chapters, Dallas Alumni and Southwest Dallas County Alumni, represent a significant number of residents and homeowners who reside in the cities of Cedar Hill, Dallas, DeSoto, Duncanville, and Lancaster. And we would like to be a catalyst in fostering positive relationships that will create safer communities in which to live. We believe the best way to begin or continue positive relationships is to keep lines of communication open and honest. It is important to share information that will be helpful to our community to understand policies, procedures, and processes that may be required to make our community a safe place to live in. So without further delay, I would like to introduce the president of the University of North Texas at Dallas, Dr. Ronald T. Brown, who will welcome you to the campus of UNT Dallas. Dr. Brown is a licensed and board-certified psychologist who is responsible for the academic, financial, fundraising, and community relations functions of the university. Prior to coming to UNT, he served as the provost and senior vice president of academic affairs at Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. He has held academic positions in public and private institutions, including Emory University, the University of Illinois, and the University of Adelaide. Dr. Brown, as you come forward to welcome the community to the campus, I would like you to know we share some of the same values as UNT Dallas. Integrity, civility, reasoning, responsibility. What better way to show the students on this campus by allowing them to participate in the dialogue, building cultures of trust with our local police department representatives. Dr. Brown.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome to the University of North Texas at Dallas. My hope is that you will get to walk around our beautiful campus and explore. It's an interesting place, and also, should you choose to have this conference here next year, we hope to have a residence hall, which I know we'll be having because our Board of Regents has just approved the building of one, a brand new building for student success, emphasizing that's what we do here is to make certain that our students are successful. A new amphitheater, which we are proposing and are almost done raising the money for. We will be able to have concerts and other events right here on campus. And finally, the nature trail that the City of Dallas is building that will go all the way from this campus all the way to Singing Hills Recreational Center, which is about 2 miles. So I'm excited. And you never know what wildlife you'll see on the campus. I walked out one day and saw 3 cows that escaped from one of the ranches here. Over the Christmas vacation, school wasn't in session, we had about 14 wild pigs on campus. And that was interesting. They did tear up the grounds, but we corralled them and got them. We are working on increased enrollment, but we didn't want that kind of enrollment. And I understand that if you go in back of the campus, that there's an alligator back there and a mountain lion. So it's interesting. You never know what you'll see around here. But it's been a fun place to work. But seriously, welcome. I am pleased seeing all these police officers here. I'm also pleased to let you know that I didn't get a speeding ticket on the way down here. I am really pleased to have this type of conference here. We're positioned in Southern Dallas, and as I say, we are a beacon of hope within this community. And we know that education helps transcend all of society's unequals. And that is if you come from a deprived background, that if you attend university, that you will educate yourself and that you will be able to work downtown in that great, beautiful skyline. I came here from Detroit about 2 years ago and actually interviewed almost 3 years ago. And I remember flying out of Detroit on a very cold January day, and it was minus something. And I came down here and it was in the 60s. And before I interviewed, which the interview was going to be at a hotel, I said, let me look at that campus. And I rented a car at DFW, which was also an experience. I felt like I was coming to DeSoto to get my car. And I drove down here and I went into one of the buildings, and they didn't arrest me like they may have in Detroit. And I walked in and I saw all these students studying against a beautiful skyline of Dallas, of downtown. And I said, boy, what a dream, what a great opportunity. If you get it done, you will have a piece of that pie. And that's really what we do here. We are the beacon of hope. We are clearly aware of the importance of trust, not only between communities and law enforcement, but also between communities and higher education. That's important. We work with our community, we let them know what's going on, we attempt not to build walls around the community that's very pervasive at other universities. We are part of the community, and we are a university that's engaged in the community. So that when whether we're training accountants or whether we're training individuals in public health, we go out there and we ask the hospitals, we ask the police force, how do you need these folks trained? And that's really critical to prepare students for careers so that when you come out of UNT Dallas, you are UNT Dallas made, is what we say. And you don't have to be trained like I had to be trained on my first job. You are ready to actually be able to do it. And that's important. I really want to thank the members of Delta Sigma Theta sorority for organizing this event. I was really pleased that this was going to be on campus, and this is in great interest of public service. You're an example of what college women can do to improve our communities and showing actually what's possible, and this is really important. So thank you. We take pride. We may be calling on many of you, including those in the police department, and hopefully when it's not an emergency, for experiential learning opportunities for our students, and to determine what kind of experiences they need to be successful, particularly in the area of criminal justice, which is one of our larger programs here. Combination of experience, learning objectives, training individuals who are good at what they do, that's really critical. I also want to thank the law enforcement individuals who are here today. Our own public safety police department keeps us very safe. One of the officers, in fact, I came out last night about 9:30 at night, and the officer, and there's not many people here at 9:30 at night, not yet being a residential community, and it is an eerie sight. My car was the only car on campus. I'm known to sort of work late at night and burn that midnight oil, and this police officer was out there. Somebody was calling, Dr. Brown, and it was our own Officer Shaw telling me that he had opened the door so that I could go out. I didn't have to mess with the sliding doors, but I could go out the other door. They're here for us. The Dallas Police, the DeSoto Police, Lancaster Police, it's always been a joint effort, and I want to thank you, and thank you for all that you do in keeping us safe. That's very important. We look forward to working on the partnership. We have part of our DNA is public safety and criminal justice. We have the wonderful Police Institute who does training of officers within the various academies in Dallas, within DeSoto, within all of the police departments. Dr. Melinda Schlegel, who is the executive director of that program, heads it up and is doing a fine job in communicating with the various communities. So thank you today for today's event. We're in the community is absolutely critical for what we do. We view ourselves as a place of social justice, to make life better for society, to equalize all of the injustices for society. You are obviously part of that, and I'm glad that we're joining forces together in order to do that. Thank you for being here. Our university salutes you. The president salutes you, and thank you very much. And have a wonderful and inspiring day. And thank you again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Christy Thomas, the Chair of Social Action for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Incorporated, Dallas Alumni Chapter. I have the esteemed privilege of introducing our moderator for today. The Honorable Carl O. Sherman is the 20th mayor and the first African-American mayor of DeSoto, Texas. He was elected mayor in May of 2010 and re-elected in May of 2013. Under his leadership, the city has launched an aggressive focus on generating economic development centered on attracting quality jobs to DeSoto, such as the new Kohl's, the e-commerce distribution center. Mayor Sherman has been a community advocate for many years, both as an elected official and a private citizen. First elected to DeSoto City Council in 2006, his fellow council members elected him as Mayor Pro Tem in 2008 and 2009. He has served the community in many capacities. That includes president of the DeSoto Rotary Club, board chairman of DeSoto Chamber of Commerce 2006, chairman of the Business and Government Affairs Committee 2002, and board chairman of the Best Southwest Chamber of Commerce in 2007. The Best Chamber of Commerce is comprised of the mayors of 4 partnering cities: DeSoto, Cedar Hill, Duncanville, Lancaster, and associate cities of Ferris, Glen Heights, Hutchins, Midlothian, Bovilla, Red Oak, and Wilmer. In 2007, Mayor Sherman accepted the call of the ministry and became an ordained minister after serving as the bishop for 2 years. Today, he pastors 2 congregations as the senior minister of the Church of Christ in both Hutchins and Wilmer. Mayor Sherman and his wife, Michelle, have 5 children and 2 grandchildren and reside in DeSoto, Texas. Now, without further ado, Carl O. Sherman, City Mayor for DeSoto, Texas.
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. Certainly a privilege to moderate this esteemed group of leaders in public safety in the Best Southwest region and the city of Dallas. It's so good to see so many neighbors and friends in the audience as we come to have a very candid discussion with our chiefs of police, our heads of public safety. These are the men and women that I hope and trust that we pray for each and every day, because as they go out to defend and serve our community, we want to make sure that they are able to go back home and be with their families as well. Do I hear an amen? Amen. Okay, I got behind a pulpit. Let me proceed with the introductions. First of all, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. They are certainly leaders in this region of North Texas. We know firsthand their engagement in our city council meetings. They are faithful and committed. They just don't show up when there's a concern. They're always there. So I really want to thank you for everything that you do. First, I will begin with introducing the Chief of Police for the premier city of Cedar Hill, Police Chief Stephen Rhodes. Chief Rhodes has over 28 years of experience in law enforcement with 18 years as police chief. He began his career with the University of Texas at Arlington Police Department in 1982 and joined the Cedar Hill Police Department in 1985. After rising to the rank of lieutenant, he was appointed chief of police in October 1995. During his career, he has been involved in nearly all aspects of police service, including patrol, criminal investigation, community services, professional standards, and traffic operations. Chief Rhodes holds a permanent peace officer's license for the state of Texas and a master peace officer's license. He is a Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Standards and Education licensed instructor and a graduate of the FBI National Academy. Further, he attended the Advanced Management College at the Institute of Law Enforcement Administration. Chief Rhodes earned a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Texas at Arlington, attended Oxford University for Managing Cultural Differences in 1991, and obtained his Master's in Public Administration from the Dallas Baptist University. Chief Rhodes is on our panel. If you will allow me to introduce the other esteemed panelists, the City of Dallas is Deputy Chief Malik Aziz. Deputy Aziz has over 23 years of law enforcement experience and 3 years with the Dallas Sheriff's Office. He currently leads the Support Service Division for the Dallas Police Department. His law enforcement career includes serving as commander of numerous major events, including the opening of the Bush Library and State Fair of Texas. Deputy Chief Aziz has served as Commander Patrol Division and Field Services. He is the National Chair of the National Black Police Association and served as Dallas Director of the Dallas Police Athletic Activities League. Deputy Chief Aziz earned a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Criminal Justice from the University of Dallas and a master's degree from the University of Arlington. Chief Aziz. I guess I'll just say Big D.
Big D.
Big DZ, is that right? Is that your way of connecting with the community?
Yeah, I got it. Well, the young guy.
Well, let me go to the little DZ. The All-American City of DeSoto. Police Captain Terry Baker. Captain Baker came to DeSoto in 2012 with 20 years of law enforcement experience. At the present time, he is assigned to the Patrol Division with DeSoto Police Department, where his many responsibilities include being over the Reserve Officer Program, the Regional Negotiation Team, and the DeSoto School Resource Officers. His many accomplishments include his research and implementing the TIP 411 program. Captain Baker has received the Officer of the Year and Supervisor of the Year awards for his dedicated service to the DeSoto Police Department. Welcome, Captain Baker. And to our neighbors, the City of Champions, the City of Duncanville. Police Chief Robert D. Brown, Jr. Chief Brown began his law enforcement career in Waco, Texas, as a police cadet in June of 1982. He was accepted in the Waco Police Academy in March of 1983 after graduating from the Waco Police Department in June of 1983. He was assigned to the Police Division, where he later served as a field training officer. In June of 1988, Chief Brown was accepted into the Dallas Police Academy. In October of 1994, he joined the University Park Police Department. He was appointed Chief of Police for the City of Duncanville, Texas, February 5, 2007. He is a graduate of the 38th Management College from the Institute for Law Enforcement Administration, ILEA, in Plano, Texas. He is also a graduate of the prestigious FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. He holds, did I pronounce that right? Quantico. Okay, Quantico. Make sure that I get that correct next time. Quantico, Virginia. He holds a Master's Peace Officer certification from the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. He has obtained training in Advanced Police Administration, Criminal Justice Administration, Criminal Justice Human Resource Management, Media Relations, Internal Affairs Investigation, Community Policing, and Police Ethics. Chief Brown earned a Bachelor of Business Administration degree from Northwood University, located in Cedar Hill, Texas, and he holds a Master's of Business Administration degree in Management from Amberton University. Chief Brown. And the Tree City of the City of Lancaster, the Tree City Police Chief Cheryl Wilson. I believe she is the first female chief. Chief Wilson's law enforcement career of 25 years began with the Dallas Sheriff's Department, where she was promoted through the ranks to Assistant Chief Deputy. She was an executive leader for over 4.5 years at the second largest county in the state of Texas. She began her position as Chief of Police of the City of Lancaster Police Department in November 2013 as the first African American to lead the department. She serves the community and department with professionalism, integrity, and dedication. Chief Wilson is an adjunct professor with the Institute of Law Enforcement Administration and a professional instructor with the University of North Texas Caruth Leadership Institute. She served in the U.S. Army National Guard for 13 years. Thank you for your service. She earned her Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and Master of Arts in Professional Development from Dallas Baptist University. She attended the FBI National Academy and the FBI Executive Fellowship Program in Washington, D.C. She has earned several law enforcement proficiency certifications. Chief Cheryl Wilson. To our audience, I want to recognize that the Assistant Chief of Police for the city, the premier city of Cedar Hill, is also here, Chief Thompson. And I saw Brown over here.
Yes, Lieutenant Brown.
Lieutenant Brown, and she is here for my security. Thank you. There's very few claps on that one. You watch the ones that didn't clap. We are here for a serious discussion. A young person told me the other day that the community is taught to trust police officers, while police officers are sometimes taught not to trust the community. And I thought that was an interesting way of looking at things. So I have a few questions that are already set for me to ask. I understand that Mayor Pro Tem Curtis D. McCowan will have to leave a little early for a funeral service, and our condolence to she and her family in the loss of her nephew, and she will be leaving the party for that funeral service. Am I on schedule? Do you want me to take my seat over here and begin the questions from there?
No, you can do your questions.
From
your,
okay. So the first question that I have, and please understand that Delta Sigma Theta is very organized. They have given me a script. They don't want me to deviate from that script. And I think, too, that I'm told I was asked to moderate because I'm not running for anything. So they knew I wouldn't be using this as a political commercial. So should I address the goals and objectives for the audience to know? So goal number one and the objectives are to develop a network dialogue between the communities in the southern sector of Dallas County and their police department that will enhance relationships for a safer community. The second goal is to bridge the gap between the community and local police departments to remove any negative stereotypes between citizens and police officers. And the final objective is this: identify processes to file officer concerns, commendations, complaints, etc. within each police department. So my questions to the panelists, and I would begin with the left to Chief Wilson. What initiatives are in place in the city of Lancaster to foster police and community trust and to promote transparency? And please consider that this question will be presented to each police chief or representative that is here. Again, the question is this, Chief, so that you don't have to ask me to ask the question again. What initiatives are in place in your respective communities to foster police and community trust and to promote transparency? Chief Wilson.
Good morning. Can you hear me good? Some of the initiatives that we started with the Lancaster Police Department really long before the national incident. Conversation with the
one night a week, learning about law enforcement, coming in and understanding what we do. Because I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that being a law enforcement officer is a very, very, very difficult job. Extremely difficult. The average tenure of a police chief is 3 to 5 years. We have a very sharp Chevron. And I make decisions based on what's right, not based on your title, or who you think you are. I don't care who you are. I really don't. I care what, tell me what the facts are, and I'm gonna do my very best to make a decision based on those facts. Not because you carry some title in front or behind your name. That's not my number one priority. The next thing, we have a number of different functions, like coffee with cops, for example. Throughout the community, we will have various functions where we invite the community so they can ask questions of us. What are some of the concerns that you may have with the police department? We can address those things right there. That's really important. And of course, I'm sure most of you have heard of National Night Out and the Next Door program, which is really a virtual neighborhood program where you learn about members of your community, Facebook and those types of things. But really the most important thing that I can tell you is that there has to be a commitment. It's like anything in life, if there's not a commitment, you're not going to do well with it. So again, thank you very much for the invitation to be here. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain Baker.
First, Chief Costa was going to be here today. He regrets he couldn't make it. He was out of town, so I was coming in. Steve, I really appreciate it. Just like Chief Brown says, I wish this would have been standing room as well. I'd like to have everything out there for everybody, and I definitely appreciate it. And I hope that we're invited back for another situation like this to get out there. You know, a lot of the things that Duncanville and Lancaster and Cedar Hill and Dallas are doing, DeSoto's doing as well. And I don't want to miss any of our programs, so I'm going to refer to my notes as well here. So pardon me for that. We as well do the National Night Out. At that point, we usually have the city council goes out with us, the independent school district officials go out with us. We go out, we meet with all the HOAs and stuff for National Night Out. The good thing about National Night Out is there's a few more people out there those nights than there is when they have HOA meetings. Our chief and our admin staff are very big on homeowners associations. We attend as many as we can. We usually have 1 to 2 representatives from the department for every HOA meeting throughout the city. A lot of times the council is there as well, the mayor's there. I think that's good because we can foster. Sometimes we're invited to the HOAs. Most of the time we're not invited. We show up and ask them, hey, is there anything we can do for you, etc. And before you know it, we're getting a lot of good feedback, positive and stuff like that. So I think it's very important that we get out with the community as well. We also have our Citizen Police Academy, which is the same thing. One more thing the city of DeSoto does is we do a Civic Academy, which is not just for the police department, but the population of the city of DeSoto can actually do the Civic Academy, which actually takes them to the library, to the council meetings, to the water department, to the fire department, through every department that the city of DeSoto has. So they get a broad view of the entire city and not just the police department like the Citizen Police Academy. We have the School Resource Officer Program where our own officers are housed there. We have a Teen Advisory Council and a Talk with Teens series coming up, the Senior Symposium. Our HOA involvement as well. We have a Right On program. We do the annual report as well. It's available to the public to see. Each of us at the department, except for the lower level, we submit something to there. We show our crime stats, what we're doing on our stats, and stuff like that as well. But on the Teen Advisory contact, I'd like to read one of the things for you that I got here, a couple of things real quick. DeSoto has the Public Library Candid Conversation Teen Talk Forum in partnership with the DeSoto Police Department on April 25th. And it's geared towards teens between 13 to 18 years old. And there's talks about teen violence and other issues about teens out there. That's the roughest part of life these days is being a teenager. That's coming in. We had some people from the district attorney's office coming in for that as well. Our SROs will be there. A lot of involvement with the community, and it reaches that specific time frame with teenagers from 13 to 18. Also, on May 2nd, we have a Blueprint for Greatness at the DeSoto High School, and it talks about social justice issues, leadership, community involvement stuff. So we're very active in the community, which I'm very fond of. was telling somebody earlier, for DeSoto and anywhere else, honestly, police departments don't get a whole lot of complaints. We get a lot more compliments from the public than we get complaints. And that's a real positive thing.
Thank you, Captain Baker. Before I move to this side of the diocese, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge the UNT Dallas Police Chief Cliff Janes. Cliff Janes, it's good to have you here. Now we will continue with the panelists. Chief Aziz, same question, sir.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me? No, it's not working. Well, let me pull up the mic then. All right. I'll try to talk as loud as I talk naturally loud anyway. It sounds like about 12 of me when you see me coming. Yeah. Say a few things here. First of all, I thank you, Delta Sigma Theta, for having us out here. Again, I really appreciate it. And I see a couple of police officers wearing the colors here. Because I don't want no trouble with them. And one of them is intimidating me right here in front of me right now. I'll say I'm sitting in. Look at it. This is a troublemaker over here, by the way. I want to thank you. Say a little bit about Dallas and to give a little preface of where we'll be coming from. It is events like this, have come up over the past 9 or 10 months now, since post-Ferguson, Michael Brown, post-Garner, some of the things that got us to where we are. So, with a lot of things to what the previous chiefs have said already, you have to build trust. Trust comes way before the incident. So, in particular, in Ferguson, if you don't have community engagement before that, then you have you're taking a back seat to what will occur. And so the first thing was community engagement. The next thing was transparency, which was a direct result out of Ferguson. So I'll say for Dallas, under Police Chief David Brown, and we've been fortunate to have two past David, to tell the two Davids, David Kunkel and David Brown, have been excellent chiefs, and one put us in one place and the other tended to progress that. So we do a lot of those things, like Chief on the Beat. Many of you may have been out to them. They host one at every substation every month. They're at a different location, which is a health and safety fair, which showcases Dallas Police and the things that we do, and also health and safety for the citizens who are coming out. And a lot of kids like to come out also. One of the biggest things, in which I happen to refound, which was the Dallas Police Athletic League, which Chief Brown took it to another level by putting more people there. And that just didn't concentrate on athletics and activities. That was focused on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, getting to the young children before we corrupt them and tell them, about how bad the police are. We want to tell them how good we are, and have them play chess and get in debate clubs and have an interaction with them without them seeing police in a negative light. Because most of the time people experience us, it's a negative incident going on. We come in to arrest somebody, or I told them, you invite me to your house, I become your uncle, then I have to take care of business in your family. I'm part of your family now, and then somebody got to go to jail because I'm your uncle and stuff. And then then we stop you on traffic. Nobody likes to get stopped. So we have all these negative experiences that we create. But with the Dallas Police Athletic League serving, I think it's up to like 500,000 kids in the past 7 or 8 years now, and trying to touch them, because you won't see those results until 10 or 15 years later. And that same thing happened on the East Coast with New York City, and how they implemented youth programs that advanced the city, which was a positive result in crime reduction over years. And most people gave credit to the police, but it was those youth programs that we were enacted with that curtail some of the youth violence that had been taking place. We do the Coffee with Cops, the national program, and that's always good, because McDonald's gives you a free cup of coffee and you can chit-chat with us. And Junior Police Academy, Citizens Police Academy, the Explorers. One thing that we're particularly proud of, Chief Brown started the Community Coalition, which are people just like you coming to the table to have a chance to implement policy, to say what you want in the police department, free of police culture associations. Is what you think what police should do and how we should do it, and we're working on that right now. in Dallas in 2014, with the end of 2014, we saw in 84 years the lowest murder rate in the history of the city of Dallas, which since 1930. In 1930, and you got to think that's just not the police, that's the citizens in Dallas helping things like that come. You got to think Bonnie and Clyde was walking the streets in 1930 when that was the highest murder rate. In 2014, it's hard to say when you have 115 murders in 1 year, and anybody was in Dallas, because I grew up on the South Carter, by the way. Carter High is where I'm from. I grew up on that. Anybody? That's what I'm talking about saying, like DWC. The rest of these guys are Carter South, Lancaster, Cedar Hill, so you had 500 murders in 1991. And so when you say Dallas led the nation per capita in 1991, to come from there to 115 murders, one is too many, but 115 murders and by 2014 and the lowest murder rate in 84 years is saying something about community partnerships and coalitions. The last thing I'll say is we're trying to be more transparent. And what you'll see in transparency, because I related to Ferguson, is you have a police incident where a young man dies. In Dallas, when you see those kinds of things happen, usually in the course of a news cycle, you'll see the chief of police or his designee giving a press conference about what we know and what we don't know, in order to let you know what's going on, what you didn't get in Ferguson. And that was part of the failed community engagement and a lack of transparency. And just like these other agencies here, you want to get out in front. And with social media, it is hard. You can't wait. You can't wait till 3 days later or 7 days later, because by that time, Twitter and Facebook will have a different story about what will happen. I asked my daughter at 15 at the time what happened to Michael Brown. She told me they put him on the ground, they had his hands up, they executed him. I was like, where did you get your news? And she said, hey, I got my news from Tumblr. I said, okay, there it is right there. So now I have to re-educate her on the facts and where we're going about what we're doing. And the last thing on that transparency deal is, like the gentlemen and ladies at this table, we're working with Senator Royce West in the body cam bill to put body cameras on officers. So that's just one more tool in the tool chest. That's not a panacea for a positive outcome, but it is another tool for us to be transparent with body cameras and cameras in cars and things like that. And Senator Royce West is leading the way on that with a lot of these leaders at the table, as well as another hat I wear as the national chair of the National Black Police Association, which has 100,000 black police officers across the United States, and I tend to speak in this country and abroad on those issues. But again, I want to thank you for having me here for my little input. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Aziz. Chief Rhodes.
Well, good morning. Also, thank you to Delta Theta Sigma chapter and the collaborative agreement. What did I say?
You said it wrong.
I was looking at Delta Sigma Theta. I was looking at my girlfriend here. Yeah, see, which one? I don't. First of all, there's two chapters that came together, and it's a collaboration, and I think that speaks volumes in this area. As you see up here on this podium today, the collaborative efforts of law enforcement, especially in the best Southwest, and we've had that for a number of years. Mayor Sherman, you know that. We work very well together, and we get out front and we talk about issues, and I would just applaud this group to be able to put this on. We've been doing things in Cedar Hill for a long time. I've been chief in my 20th year, 30 years there, so I've seen a lot of changes, but one of the things that hasn't changed is relationship building. I've been with my wife 28 years, and it would not work without communication. It is core to any relationship. If you do not have good communications, it's just not going to work. And we've been doing that for years in Cedar Hill. We get out and we talk with our community members. I heard people talking about National Night Out and HOAs and Neighborhood Crime Watch groups. I mean, we have 44 active crime watch groups within a city of 50,000, which is unbelievable. And I can tell you, I go to a lot of meetings. And it's not just to meet, it's meet to talk, meet to greet, meet to understand not only who the chief is, but who our officers are, what they do, what they can't do, and having just honest communications about what's happening within not only our city, but maybe just in their neighborhood. Get down to the grassroots of it. And we've been doing that for a number of years, and it's helped promote a safe environment over the last 5 years. As many of our probably fellow chiefs are here, we're seeing a reduction in crime. Our crime index rate has gone down 16% over 5 years. It is not just what the police are doing. It is a collaborative effort with our citizens, and it's because we talk with them. We talk with our citizens. Relationship building is spending time and growing courage to develop those relationships, focusing on, I know you've heard this, on timely and honest communications, information, education, and then being responsive to some of those needs within the community. Some of the things that we've done to develop that relationship, when I first became chief, I saw a component that was missing. And for many of you that don't know me, there's no doubt in my mind I was placed in my position by God. And I acknowledge who He is. And what I mean by that is that every human being demands the dignity and respect because they are God's creation. And if we keep that the forethought of our mind, if that's our base thing, then you're going to treat people correctly. You're going to treat people correctly. So there's no doubt in my mind, and God can take me out anytime He wants, so can the mayor and the council. And the city manager. But the idea is that they know who I am and who I stand for. My troops know who I am, stand for. There's consistency of who I am and consistency of what the department stands for. And so some of the things that we did when I first became chief is we needed to reach out to the spiritual side of our community, and we developed a group called the Hands in Unity group, particularly getting our pastors together. And you know what? We just flat out, just when we first met, just prayed for our community. We just prayed for them. I know this seems maybe a setting where we're talking about education and logic and reasoning. It's hard to put into words and understanding what faith means. And we're taught oftentimes there's a separation between church and state. I can tell you can't separate who I am. I just can't. So if that's the case, if we're praying for our community, and I've seen changes, I've seen God's hand on our community, it helps in the relationship building as long as we're continuing to talk and grow those relationships. So we started this Hands in Unity group back in '95. It's transformed into the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast that meets quarterly. It's a transformation. Maybe you know about transforming communities through prayer and spiritual growth. I know Mayor Sherman, you're a part of that. You've been connected with our mayor for years. There's a component that was missing. And once we got that and adopted that and gave God the glory, it made all the difference in the world. That's just one thing as far as being transparent and reaching out. We have also Citizens Police Academy. We've had 25 of them. We have actually a team of officers called our Police and Community Team, a PAC team. And they are assigned a district in each one of our cities. And they're sort of like the little problem solvers. They have the power to get whatever resource they need from the department, but not just the department, citywide. It may be a code issue. It may be an animal control issue. It may be something that is outside completely all police realm, but they're going to help that community or that neighborhood solve whatever issue that they have. I talked about the Neighborhood Crime Watch. We were actually a 2013 National Award winner for National Night Out. Per capita, the size and the number of people, I mean, it was unheard of the amount of people that came out and see it. We have a collaboration of working with our Country Day event, Juneteenth celebration, Head for the Hills, where it's just not the police getting together, it's everyone planning to make a successful and safe environment. We're also a recognized agency. That means that we have adopted all the best practices. We just received our I guess, recognition from the state, and we're good until 2018. So our policies or procedures are recognized as best practices. UNT has been doing our racial profiling report, an independent third party looking at our data and then presenting it to the council since 2004. Even prior to then, the collaborative effort within the best Southwest cities, these agencies voluntarily submitted their data to help really be a model for the racial profiling law, which is amazing. Again, this effort, it started here in the best Southwest cities. We did that. Our city council, along with all the department directors, meet in town hall meetings. Again, fostering communications of issues that are really unique to each individual neighborhood. We process over for our agencies, 50,000. I know we look at Dallas when I say this number is small. Sorry, Big. This is small. But we process, 3,000 open records requests quickly and accurately. For our agency, that's a lot, but that's a transparency. If somebody wants to know what's happening, get that record out to them as quickly as possible. I was reluctant for a lot of years, and I was trained, and you're always a student, an ongoing student, life student. For years, and even in my FBI Academy training, is there any people from the media here? I don't want to give away my secrets. But I was taught in the FBI Academy really to control the media. To go into your war room, get your message crafted, and then go out and, this is what it's not that you're being dishonest, but you were holding it back. We were being honest, but it's the timeliness of it anymore. And we were trained that way in the FBI Academy. And we'd go in and say, here's the message, and you'd get with the mayor and your city council, say, here's what we're going to go. And guess what? The message is already out. It's already passed through. So last year, we really launched, and it was under an untimely event. We had one of our officers that was severely burned. I don't know if you remember that. It was Officer Andy McSwain. Had a man that was really just beside himself, had lit himself on fire inside of a Wingstop, and literally blew himself up with 3 other officers. Officer McSwain is getting back to work. Again, that's because of her faith that she's back. But we launched our social media, and we're number 4 in the Metroplex, only behind Dallas, Fort Worth, and Plano as far as the amount of followings now. Not just because of that, but because the information that we're putting out constantly, whether it's tweeting, Facebook, YouTube. I know you probably saw that we made the Good Morning America show. We had the knockoff from Sergeant Larry Wise on doing the Matthew McConaughey life moments. But it shows the reality. I mean, we're human beings too. We make mistakes. You admit those mistakes, but you get out in front. So we've taken the ball really in the social media because, let's face it, that's where our young people are going to. That's where they're getting their news. That's what they're getting. So let's get out there and get our message, because you're always going to have someone that's going to twist it maybe, or take something and make something negative out of it. But let's get the facts out there as we know them and positive, and have good interaction with our citizens that not only we serve, but become then maybe a model to other agencies as well.
Chief Rhodes, I want to stay with you. With mental illness being an issue that is really epidemic in this nation, and in the past, I think many police departments have not been really prepared for this. Our way to mitigate it has been jailing those individuals. What is the training being offered to prepare officers for persons who suffer from mental illness?
Well, first of all, we're a relatively small department, 67 officers, police officers. But out of those 67 officers, we actually have 5 state mental health peace officers trained, and 1 civilian, our victims assistance coordinator, is also trained in being a mental health peace officer. All of our officers receive crisis intervention training, and the MHR training for intermediate certification, and then they have biannual updates. We also have roll call training, quarterly briefings from all of our local mental health providers and their intake procedures, not only recognizing folks that may have some mental illnesses, but if you come across and you have to take them in, what providers are in the local area to expedite, or maybe that you need some additional resource assistance, that they're there. It's been sort of a reaching out. They've not only reached out to us, but we've reached back in sort of coordinated efforts of how we come together and dealing with some of those issues. We also have obviously less lethal training in dealing with mental illness patients or people that have mental illnesses, beanbag rounds, rubber bullets, tasers, pepper spray, anything other than maybe deadly force. And I'll be clear, there are some issues where it is a deadly force issue, and I heard you say this earlier, Mayor, that I know our officers want to go home, but that's not the reason why they want to go home. They're not looking for the quickest way. I want to be clear on that. Because I read an article this last Sunday in the Metro section. Steve Blow was talking about that training with all, I do read stuff. It had bothered me because I think what he was trying to say is we maybe look at the quickest tool of using deadly force because we want to go home to our families. And that's not true. We don't have to take someone's life. We don't. But there may be opportunities that come up for an officer, and we're not there. Oftentimes, we're the third party looking on, but we're not there and seeing a gun or a knife or what that threat means to that officer. No one wants to take a life. That's not what we're trying to do to get home to our families. We're number one, there to serve and protect. The last thing on our agenda is going out and wanting to take someone's life. And so I became a little offended. I drew back. I prayed about it. But I knew that's not what we're training our officers to do. We're not training them to go home. We're training them to give them and arm them with the right tactics to do that. I will say this also. We share a crime analysis function between three of the cities up here, DeSoto and Lancaster and Cedar Hill. And we actually use that crime analysis information to identify people that may be living in residences with mental illnesses, and then putting resident information on when the officers go to deal with that, so they know going out that they may be dealing with someone that has a mental illness. That's critical of having information at hand, maybe to prevent something from escalating. I'm going to leave this one more time to go over here to Big Z. I am concerned. I know our Supreme Court this week was debating over ADA. One of the things, the ADA, the Supreme Court was skeptical that ADA requirements that police take precautions when trying to arrest armed and violent suspects who are mentally ill. Most of the justices expressed doubts that police have to accommodate disabilities in cases where people pose an immediate threat to others. And again, that's one of those things about trust. If we're training our officers, you have to trust that person poses an immediate threat to either themselves or others, and they don't leave them any other choice but to use deadly force. But it's not the first thing that they should go for, and that's not the first thing that we train in Cedar Hill to do.
Thank you, Chief Joe. Chief Fazee?
Same question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Let me say this because I'll piggyback on a lot of things the chief just said here. In Dallas, we have 3,500, just over 3,500 officers in the city of Dallas. So we're talking, 1.3 million people, and so it's gigantic for us to have 2,200, over 2,200 police officers in a capacity that patrols the streets in some form or fashion to have this type of training. Years ago, we went through a transition long before this became a national crisis now, dealing with people who are mentally ill or have mental health issues. And that is anywhere from 48 hours to 40 hours of training to each officer. Critical incident training, mental health officers is what we call them. So each officer in a patrol capacity has had some type of training. Each recruit that goes through 9 months, the longest academy in the nation, by the way, 9 months of training in Dallas Police Academy, a certain section is cut out in there from 40 hours of training on dealing with people with mental health issues in order to help us deal with them. It's what the chief, said, teaching people from how to verbally calm a situation down to using less lethal, from your hands to less lethal to last resort, a gun to take someone's life or to incapacitate them. And so we have this training in place. Now, that doesn't say that we won't have issues. And you've seen across the nation, Dallas is not immune to this, that we have our own issues dealing with mental health. But the system itself on mental health has been fractured for a long time, and that is, answering the question on what do you do when you can't have your loved one take the proper medication, and then the only thing you can do in your eyes is call the police to try to do something to gain control of the situation. And calling police to that kind of atmosphere for people who are dealing with mental health issues, who are not taking their medication and not in their right mind, then police officers bring a certain degree of training to the situation. And then sometimes that ends up, we have hundreds of incidents or thousands that happen in a year that we successfully have a successful outcome of taking people's loved one to mental health facilities or Parkland in the county, and then we have the issues like we've been experiencing that's been on the news here in the past couple of weeks here with even people who I happen to know and grew up in part of the same neighborhood, and those incidents will occur. And how do we get into a system? If you look at Atlanta or Milwaukee or Los Angeles, what has happened with people who have mental health deficiencies is that they have been crying for help. The family has been going to mental health places, and they've been, they go in the revolving door. And we, at every situation, it's a gun at every situation, and that's the gun that we bring on our hip. And so we already bring in a deadly force, atmosphere to a situation where we just want to have a peaceful outcome with a person who is not thinking, correctly. So I have known officers who go out every day who have had to use deadly force in several situations, including mental illness issues, who can't even function after the fact, who have issues functioning after they use a deadly force in that type of capacity. So, to be brief, to let the other chiefs have their say, we have training in place. We're dealing with it, but that won't stop incidents from happening where it escalates. We're going to have to get inside the system and fix it all around about how do we help our people who have mental health or mental illness issues. And that's a broad coalition with police and mental health people like we've been doing in Dallas for, I don't know, it must have been the last 10 years at least. We've been training people in this capacity, and we need to do a lot more.
Thank you, Chief Azee. I'm going to ask the north side of the diocese to move a little bit faster for me because I want to make sure that Delta Sigma Theta has the opportunity to open up the floor for questions from the audience that have been very patient. So, Baker, give us a brief one.
City of DeSoto, we basically have all the same things, the crisis intervention training, mental health officer on staff. We also do a lot of scenario-based instructions on that. We'll get some, with our mental health officer, she will contact some groups and let some people come down for scenarios that have mental issues. They give us a lot of positive feedback when we're done with our scenarios with them. So actually having some mental health people coming in with some mental illnesses, I think favors as well because we get to learn a lot, we're living it live, et cetera, at the same time. And it's pretty good. One of the things that I'm kind of pushing for at our agency is I've been a negotiator for 16 years. I'm in charge of the regional team that we have right now, Surge, of negotiators, which covers 10 cities. I was asked by Karen, who I'd like to acknowledge, yeah, she's been my shadow today and I appreciate her. Well, she asked if we've ever lost anybody through negotiations. In 16 years I've been a negotiator, we've never lost anybody that we've been able to make contact with. That is an outstanding record, an outstanding But to me, one of the things as a captain at the police department, I would like to see more supervisors go to negotiator training, and I'd like to see officers do negotiator training because you get a lot of how to deal with any type of person at that point. And to me, I think that's the reason because we've got a lot of people trained in negotiations, which is why I don't think we've lost one yet. So,
very well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Baker. Chief Brown.
Yes, you've heard some really good information from my colleagues, so in the interest of time, I'm going to keep crisis intervention training is extremely important for law enforcement officers. It's so important that our regulating body, which is the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, requires that police officers receive this training in the police academy. And before you can step up to the next level and get an intermediate certificate, there's additional training in this area. Chief Rose said something that is extremely important. We do not want to hurt your loved ones. When a police officer is involved in a shooting, ladies and gentlemen, it is no difference than a citizen who is not a peace officer. You're being charged with murder. You're being investigated as though you killed someone. No police officer wants to go through that. So the most important thing that, in my mind, that we can do as leaders of our organization is to ensure that our officers have the training and the resources to handle these situations. We fully understand that when we encounter someone who has mental health issues, that they're not their normal selves. So what we want to do is de-escalate that situation and get them the help that they need. And there are statutes in place that will allow a peace officer to take someone into custody who is a danger to themselves or someone else. And so we have the ability, and we need the training. When we respond to a location and someone is not their normal selves, we need that training to understand that and take that person into custody. And we're not taking them to jail. We're taking them to a facility where they can get the help that they need.
Thank you, Chief Brown. Chief Wilson?
Can I just say ditto? I think it's very important that we've seen a little spike in Lancaster as it pertains to mental evaluation costs for service that we receive, and it's kind of, it makes me nervous because I know each one of those encounters could be less than desirable outcome that we're looking for. So I'm really trying to find where is that early warning sign that we, most of all of our people we know, our families, our addresses, where is the early warning sign that you know when they stop taking their medication? Let's not wait till they get to that agitated level that we call the police department. Call when you know they stop taking it. Call the first day, the second day. At least give us a chance to have a better encounter in these situations than waiting until they're completely off their meds. They've been off the meds for 10 days, 15 days. As we all know, they get agitated as time goes along without the medication. We're talking about normal people just like us. It's just a matter of taking the medication when they're supposed to have it. So it's a constant conversation, one that I continue to put out on the website and everywhere else I can is public awareness and education as it pertains to mental health and mental illness that we'll have to embrace together as a community and as a police department, that we do not have less than desirable outcomes that we're looking for in these situations when you call us out. So we have to work together, but you know, I would really challenge everyone, don't, if you know anybody, not to wait until 5-10 days, the first day, the second day. They're not going to take it once they decide they're not going to take it. So why are we waiting till they get to that level before we're actually called out? So that's something that is very near and dear to my heart. I wanted to talk about that. That's part of the topic.
Thank you, Chief Wilson. Now, Chief Wilson, I'm going to begin with you for my final question that is written. What is your opinion, and Chiefs, if you would be brief on your opinion and be brief on your future plans, if you have future plans to implement body cams, if you do not have that, and how do you feel it will impact officers' behavior. And I would say this, I applaud the police for even going in this direction. And the reason I say that, I'm not biased, DeSoto has had body cams since 2011. But here's the thing, 2009.
We did initial purchase 2009.
Right, but we didn't implement it, everybody
till
2009. Okay, so here's the challenge, Captain Baker, that I say to pastors, because I recognize there are some pastors here, right? And, you know, they're saying, yeah, the police need body cams. My question to the pastors is, how many of you would be willing to wear body cams? You know, because not all pastors are, anyway, I'll just stop right there. So I think that says a lot about the integrity of these men who are wearing the body cams. So, Chief Wilson, what is your opinion, briefly, and then do you have future plans for implementing body cameras, and how do you feel it will impact officer behavior?
I agree with the body cameras, although there's a lot of legislative update and policies and procedures that would have to take place. But it does bring about a sense of transparency and accountability. And as some of the incidents, national incidents that have occurred over the last year, I think the body cameras would have really cleared some of those questions of what happened and what didn't happen in those situations. And for the Lancaster Police Department, we have ordered 32 body cameras, and what the vendors told me, they're in the mail. We're waiting. I think it was a big, large influx of ordering 4 body cameras. So we're all kind of behind right now. They have to really work out some of the glitches with the software for the body cameras, but most definitely we welcome. I will tell you, probably half of Lancaster Police Department, we have not had them, but the officers bought their own body cameras, and they wear them so that they don't have any issues. And I really appreciate their commitment and dedication to do that and to be ahead of the curve. But it is a law enforcement responsibility. We should provide those resources for them. So we do have 32 ordered, and we're waiting for them to come in, and we will implement a policy and procedure that we've already have in place for that transparency. But I would say this and challenge the audience to be patient with us as we go through this, because there are a lot of challenges with the body cameras. As we speak about privacy and what's released to the public, Open Records Act, this is going to take a process. But we're willing to go through it because I think the positive outweighs the negative as it pertains to transparency and accountability and the integrity of what we do. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Wilson. It's quite commendable that your officers would spend their own money. Chief Brown.
Yes, I support body-worn cameras 100%. And in fact, we ordered cameras in 2014, and apparently we have the same level because they're in the mail. They've not arrived yet. But here's what I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen. It's very important that you hear this. I don't know how many of you watch sports, but I love sports, and I watch sports all the time. And when I'm watching a football game, there are probably 11 or 12 different cameras that you see that will, when a player has a fumble, they're going to show it from various angles. And when you see something from one angle, it looks like a fumble. And when you see it from another angle, it's not a fumble at all. I will caution you that when you see something, wait till you have all of the facts. That's really, really important. Because what you think you see might not be what you see at all. Because when an officer is kicking, is he kicking a gun away? Is he kicking a knife away? You really don't know that until you have all of the facts. And so what I've made a commitment to do is if there's an incident in my community, you're going to see me out in the public very quickly giving a news conference, but you will never hear me say what I'm going to do to an officer because I don't have all of the facts. That's not fair to that officer, and that's not fair to that other side of the coin. Once I know the facts, then I'm going to make the appropriate decision, but I'm not going to rush the judgment.
Thank you, Chief Brown. Captain Baker.
I got an extra large tie tack on. This is the body camera that we use in DeSoto. We've been using for years. As Chief said, I'm glad he brought that up. This is a one-dimensional. You only see things from one angle. Now the issue is all of our officers are equipped with these. I just want to show you how quick it is. When we're doing this, that's all it takes for me to start recording. It's just a quick flip down. But if you come up to me at the 7-Eleven and say, how you doing, you having a great day, and you start throwing punches at me, I don't have time to reach down and grab this thing every time. So I know they're wanting it all the time, but understand sometimes you're taking away from everything that you need, the radio and all your other tools to think about the recorder. So if there's not a recording for any reason, it does not mean that the officers are trying to hide anything. You have to put yourself in their shoes, as he says there. We are part of Senator Royce West, Senate Bill 158 as well. We have Chief Cost and Lieutenant Wyndham, who are part of the work group down there. They go down there, seems like every week. I think it's a little vacation for them. They're down there quite a bit, and they're actually using a lot of our body cam policy as a template for portions of the bill and stuff. It was interesting because in 1994, when I started in DeSoto, I was with the training officer, and I'm sitting there one day, and all of a sudden he puts this big old massive video camera on the dash of the car, and he starts like taping it to the dash. Well, what are you doing? He goes, I like to record this stuff, so that way it protects me and it protects the citizens as well. That was in 1994, and we had one of them huge VHS tapes. It was taped and stuff, but I really liked that at the time back then, because if I made a mistake, he could easily show it to me and say, here's a mistake you made, so I learned from that. So I'm a big person that loves the cameras myself. But again, it's a tie tag.
Thank you, Captain. Chief Aziz.
I'm still laughing over the video. Just Dallas, of course, we're in support of the body cameras. As I mentioned earlier, I'll restate, it's not a panacea for resolving the issues. It is just one more tool in the tool chest. We're testing several cameras right now. We have something like 50 already in the field, and we're testing another 200 to see which ones we're going to buy. That won't be the single biggest issue. The cameras themselves are very cheap. For taxpayers who need to know it when there's no other funding from either the president or the state, that storage capacity for these cameras, that is where the bulk of the costs come from. Hundreds of hours of storage of some things that you would deem as nothingness. And then when you get open records like the several million that we'll get, you'll have for every hour, it'll take several hours to go through that and redact it, and dealing with if it's actually crime involved and what the DA says. A lot of these things come into play, but the single biggest factor of that is the cost of storage for these body cameras. And what perspective are you seeing from a chest perspective, or the ones that hook up to the head or the eye, and where your head goes is normally what you see. So we're dealing with the different dynamics of that, and we're just going to have to, it poses many challenges. So when you see it, don't think that a person has a body camera is going to show you everything and give you what you need, but it will offer us one tool in our tool chest to come to a reasonable resolution of what occurred.
Thank you, Chief Aziz. Chief Rhodes.
First of all, I agree with all my fellow chiefs. I'm going to try, I've actually written something out here I think sort of encapsulates everything that they said in one form or fashion. I definitely support body cameras, just like Chief Aziz said. It's not a panacea cure-all, but merely a tool to assist in transparency, to promote not only officer safety, but citizen safety. We must always evaluate what we see on video and consider like the time factor, the three-dimensional dynamics, the officer's interpretation and reaction in light of maybe their training, experience, and feelings. If he's feeling for his safety or that of others, that's not going to be captured on a camera. We've always been on the cutting edge of technology. We have sort of waited. We actually ordered cameras in February 2006. It was through the L3 Mobile Vision. It was the same group that we first put our in-car cameras in back in 1995 when it wasn't required for that kind of technology. So we had the base already in place. We just sort of waited for that group to work out their kinks, but we have 75 ordered. And he said, well, Chief, you just got through telling me you got 67 officers. Well, we're going beyond just the officers on the street. We're doing detectives. I'm going to do our animal control officers, and I'm going to do our public service officers or report takers that may have some opposition that come against them. So it's all the department members. It's just not police. So I want to read you something. I heard Chief Wilson talk about some of the open records problems that are brewing, and if you haven't been following a lot of the legislation across the country, President Obama initiated the task force on 21st century policing in December, and they released a report. And the task force, I I want to read this, came right out of the task force, warned that releasing videos showing use of force, even when lawful and appropriate, can undermine trust in police, and that images showing minors and graphics events raise concerns. That's that privacy issue. So there's a lot of things, even though law enforcement is wanting to promote transparency, there's issues on privacy that needs to be worked out, some of the things on open records, and there's several states. Matter of fact, there's 15 states, if I can go back and look at my notes. Lawmakers in at least 15 states have introduced bills to exempt video recordings of police encounter with citizens from state public record laws, or to limit what can be made available to the public. So there's not a, we've got some states in the United States that aren't even in agreement on how these things are going, and Texas is probably going to be one of those as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Rhodes. Well, I think you've heard mentioned a couple of times Senate Bill 158. Senator West is asking for the support of not only law enforcement, but from pastors and citizens like yourself to show your support for Senate Bill 158. You do that by writing the Capitol in support of Senate Bill 158. You can address Senator West in regards to that now. Madam Chair. Okay, the first question I have for the chiefs, and I'm going to, may I choose two chiefs to answer this question? Okay, all right. What should be done to teach our public to cooperate with law enforcement? What should be done to teach our public to cooperate with law enforcement? This is a very good question. When you ask people about even the incident in New York with the gentleman Eric Garner, you know, it depends on your perspective. Interestingly, I have a group of young whites that I meet with in DeSoto, and I meet with young African Americans, and their perspective is totally opposite. The African American young people feel that Eric Garner was cooperating, and the young whites feel that he was not. So I think this is a very good question to ask. I'm going to ask Chief Brown from Duncanville to answer this question, and then on this side I'm going to ask Chief Rhodes to answer this question. What should be done to teach our public to cooperate with law enforcement?
You know, I tell you, as I was reading the information that was mailed out to the chiefs, you mentioned your goals and objectives. And number 2 says, bridge the gap between the community and local police departments to remove any negative stereotypes. And ladies and gentlemen, in America, we tend to stereotype. We look at people, we see what type of car they drive, or what their title is, or the size of their home, or how big or how large they are, and we also stereotype based on race. And we need to stop that. When we look at someone and we see an African American male, all of a sudden, some people, not all, some people have this preconceived notion about that individual, and that's not right. I needed to say that before I give you the answer to the question that was asked. We just need to begin to trust one another and understand that we are all the same. We're all the same. And I've told my sons that if you encounter a law enforcement officer, you must say, yes, sir, no, sir, and follow that officer's instructions. If something happens that you disagree with, you still must follow that officer's instructions. Then you call me. I'll make sure that we get taken care of, because the battle, you're not going to win the battle on the street, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a battle you want. Okay? You You have to go through the proper protocol if you feel that something is done inappropriately. So I think it's important that you teach your loved ones that when they encounter someone a police officer on the street, please follow that officer's commands. Because really, the most important thing is that each of you leave safely.
Very well, thank you, Chief Brown. Chief Rhodes.
Well, this is great, Robert, because I met your son and you taught him well. I had to share that because he actually came up, shook my hand, sir, this, that. We were at the movie theater at Cedar Hill Cinemark, and he told me, and he said, well, you know my dad, right? And I said, who's your dad? He goes, Robert Brown. He said, okay. So Robert, you did good, man. You did good. I want to echo what Robert said, that number one, it has to start in the home. If that's the family unit, it has to start there. And then just like anything else, the repetition, we need to make sure that it's being taught within our schools, it's being taught within our churches, but that it's the repetition. I remember, of course, dating myself, going back to high school, but they taught like a civility class on how to treat people. And when you dealt with police officers, and heck, balancing your checkbook, and, you know, and that seems to have gone on the wayside of just being able to survive. I mean, we're trying to, I think, this is my opinion only, I think that got eliminated from the school districts and they started to sit on the basics, the math and the English and the reading stuff. But I think that we lost something of teaching our kids how to be a good citizen. And so, first of all, it starts in the home. But we can reemphasize that in our schools, and in our churches. And how can police be a part of that? Be on that same curriculum. Emphasize the same things that they're being taught on those levels. I think that's important.
Very well, thank you, Chief Rhodes. Now this question is to Chief Wilson specifically. The question, Chief Wilson, is you mentioned 2 brochures about first contact with police officers in Lancaster. Can you explain to us briefly a few things that police officers are looking for and how a citizen should respond? How do we de-escalate a potential threatening situation?
Yes, we just created this trifold. Wasn't my brilliant idea, but I do go outside the box of the states and things like that. And got the idea and kind of really made it more for citizens and police department, as we are trying to continue to build and enhance our public trust, integrity, and the public's opinion and perception of us counts too. So this is the guidelines for interacting with law enforcement. If you're stopped on the street, it tells you what to do. If you are stopped in the car, it tells you what to do. On the very back, it tells just what Chief Brown was saying. There's a complaint process, there's a due process, and you cannot settle everything when you're interacting with law enforcement. That's why we have internal affairs where you can file a complaint. Lancaster Police Department, we're very transparent. You can do that online as well if you go to our website. What we don't want you to do is, as other chiefs have said, try to handle the situation actually, on the call itself. There's a time and a place to do that. This brochure is very, very thorough for anybody. I think some adults need it. It's not just for children. It's for everybody because we don't understand that sometimes. You can't resolve it on the spot. The law enforcement officer, he's in charge or she's in charge at the time, and they have to have a presence of command because it's an officer safety thing. So you can't settle it there. But I truly believe this trifold is very transparent and will help to open the lines of communication between law enforcement and the citizens and the public to understand how you should conduct yourself when you're actually on that stop. Because sometimes we do say, why did you stop us? Like, why did you stop me? That car was, as soon as and that just sets the whole, it talks about that in here because it sets the whole time of that interaction you're gonna have on that stop. And we do want to do our job, we want to do our job safely, and we still want to leave you with the sense of professionalism that we just have a job to do, it's not anything personal. So I believe this is very transparent. I do have some copies I could share here, but that's how, Mayor, how I feel about the direction that we need to go in for interacting with law enforcement. And I just got these like on Thursday, so they haven't been out that long, but I'm very proud of them. I think it opens the door and help us out as in law enforcement as a whole. And I don't think it's just for Lancaster Police, I think it's for law enforcement in general.
Thank you, Chief Wilson. We are certainly coming up on the latter part of this event, and we will adhere to the time. So some of the questions I'm not going to be able to ask publicly. I hope that you understand. And I am term limited, so don't threaten me that you're not going to vote for me. I've won my last mayor race. What are the most important tools I can equip my preteen African-American male son with as it relates to interacting with police in public settings in the absence of adults he trusts? And one chief can answer that question, and I'm going to leave it up to you.
You want to make it.
Read the question again.
Sure. What are the most important tools I can equip my preteen African-American male son with as it relates to interacting with police in public settings in the absence of adults he trusts? And this question is similar to one in regards to, are there any specific trainings, and I'm paraphrasing, for police to consider perhaps stereotypes that you mentioned earlier? Are there any types of training that will help make individuals more comfortable with some
I think, in my mind, one of the most important things that you can do is be the very best parent, the very best lover. The most important thing that you can do, in my mind, is simply be the best parent, the best loved one you can possibly be. Teach your child love, and I realize that this is not a religion class, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm not ashamed to tell you that I spent many nights on my knees praying for the opportunity to be a police chief, and to me that there's nothing greater than just being a child of God and just doing the right thing. So in my mind, the most important thing that you can do is pass those traits on to your children.
And I wanted to chime in on that. As far as the law enforcement side of it, we do have cultural diversity. That's one of the state mandated required courses that we have to take in order to be in law enforcement, and that's at the lowest level, cultural diversity. So that's where that starts, and they hold us accountable to that. And, that training, which deals with a lot of biases, stereotypes, and prejudice that they may encounter. And sometimes they're subliminal. People don't realize that they have them, but we all do. You know, if it's a bad driver or someone that don't no insurance. There's a lot of different things, that we have our biases about that we don't realize that we actually do, but we do. So the training is really good. It opens up some pretty good hot topics in law enforcement. And you kind of people get to identify where those prejudices or those stereotypes or biases may be that can impact what they do in law enforcement. So it is the first early warning sign to yourself that you have these and how you overcome some of your own biases. Not just race, but just in general.
Captain Baker asked.
I have one more quick thing I wanted to add to what we've been talking about already. How many in this room has actually heard somebody say to a child, if you don't mind, I'm going to call the police, or if you don't mind, I'm going to have that officer take you away? We hear it all the time, and this really goes back to starting at the home. When we hear that, a lot of times the officers will give these children something, which really makes the parents look bad. So that's one thing we've got to stop doing out there. And yes, I have said that myself. And then I enter the room.
Okay. It was stated that officers receive training on mental health during their time in the academy. Is there a continuous training throughout their career? Are officers mandated to continue their education as it relates to mental illness?
I wouldn't say they were mandated past the training that we actually get, but it is, as a chief, it's in our best interest to continue to have continued education is what I would call it. Just like the simulation training, all of our officers in Lancaster Police Department are now going through the Dallas County, I think is partnered with Dallas Police Department, a 40-hour crisis intervention mental illness course, where it's more scenario-based training that they receive, and it's a little bit more intense with actors and things of that nature that they get to actually experience the hands-on training. So it's a continuous education within law enforcement because it's something that we continue. There's a high load or the potential risk of life and cost for service that we get as it pertains to mental evaluations or mental illness calls. So it just behooves us to be more proactive and continue to educate and have a public awareness and public education as well as law enforcement itself.
Very well. I have a question. I have a question that says, I like to ask the question, can you attend? This sounds like a lobbyist. Can you attend or send representatives to PTAs, HOAs, Crime Watch? Okay, I know before you do that, yes, they also said with monetary contributions to support community activities. Okay. With monetary contribution to support community activities. They want your presence, but they also want your financial resources.
Let me add something to that. I think part of that sounds funny, but you should get involved with a new program that's coming out with Tony Brinker Pickens called Operation Blue Shield. And you just asked a question about monetary support. Part of Operation Blue Shield that's going nationwide. It started right here in Dallas with Tony Brinker Pickens. Some of you adept at social media, just plug it in Google, you'll find out who she is. And the wife of T. Boone Pickens, you may know him. But Operation Blue Shield is supported. Part of Operation Blue Shield is to get those donations and give them to community groups, residential and business crime watches, to help them put on crime watches with food and resource materials. So it may be, it's to the good for all of us to get involved with Operation Blue Shield.
Very well. Some of these questions I have to compress or compile them into one question because that question was asked by someone else in a different way. Now, I have two final questions that are very polarizing, and so I'm going to do my best to not make this a personal attack. You know, it's sort of like when you invite somebody into your home. You don't, or you shouldn't. The guest shouldn't attack their host, right? That's just things that our parents taught us.
Amen.
Our country, I think, is, while we are all concerned about change, and it seems like things are so bad. But Chair Thomas, these folks who are experts are all telling us crime is down. So while the media may be projecting a different story, the folks who know are letting us know the facts. Do we have problems? Yes. Do police make mistakes? Yes. Are there some officers who are not good officers? Yes. Are there some pastors that are not good pastors? Yes. Oh, you didn't have to say it.
What's up, man?
Thank you. Somebody's got my back up here. Chief Rhodes says not here. But I say that because it's so important that we understand that tragedy happens and it's going to happen to somebody because we are all imperfect. It's going to happen to somebody. And whenever you have change, whenever you start, as we are starting to see different people at the table that have never been at the table, sometimes the writers of history believe that their narrative is accurate. And they glamorize it and its glory, being back in the 1700s or 1800s. Well, Chief Brown or Chief Wilson wouldn't be at this table. Chief Brown. So all I'm saying is that we have to trust that, as Chief Rhodes said earlier, God appointed him to this seat. And we know that our Creator is in control of everything. Good or bad, all things do work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. You mean if my father was killed by an officer, it's easier for me to apply that to someone else. But when I'm the one who has to go through the pain and agony, it's different. And I would challenge you to have that same passion when it's not someone that you were connected to. Because we are to be our brother's keepers. So, as I come to the close, I've practiced criminal law in Dallas County for 38 years. But some of these are not, they're not going to be able to give you an answer on this one, okay? I've practiced criminal law in Dallas County for 38 years. I'm at the criminal courthouse every day. And 90 to 95% of all persons charged with crimes are black or brown. Are white folks, I guess you could have said that differently. Sort of. Anyway, it's just how we ask things sometimes, okay? Are white people ever arrested in Dallas County? If so, what percent? With this percent of arrest of blacks and browns, how do you expect us to trust police? It is a very fair question. And again, this country is changing. Chief Wilson is the first chief of police that is female. She now brings a perspective that we didn't have, African American, that we didn't have before. That means it's going to take time, because now she's addressing issues that none of these men would have perhaps even thought of, because she's coming from a different perspective. As we move forward, there will be different folks at the table. There may be a chief who may have some physical handicap. That's going to get us a better sense of humanity and how to treat everybody. Okay, so I have to end there. I am going to give the last question to Chief Aziz for him to take, and he can address that with the individual, because it is for the Dallas police. Okay, Chairman. Thank you all for this opportunity.
Well, we'd like to thank you all and our police chiefs and their representatives for taking the time out today to come and speak with us, and for you all to come and interact with them. In light of the incidents that have, the national incidents that have, went off over the past year or whatnot, this really inspired us to create this kind of panel and this type of discussion. I'm not trying to disparage or, condemn protesting or, speaking out or whatnot, but the issue is, what is the policy change? What can we do? What is the answer? Not to complain. It's very easy to complain, and it's very easy to be loud and go downtown and march in the streets and whatnot, but what do we do to change it? The purpose is to save lives and to make sure that we're all living in this small little world together as citizens and as the police who are here to protect us. So it's very, very important that we have these types of conversations, and I'm very excited that we were able to do so. Very excited that Southwest Dallas County alumni and Dallas County will come together to put on this program. And we like to show our appreciation to our police chiefs and their representatives for coming out. I know you all have very, very busy schedules. I understand. And so it's very important that you all come out and we see your faces. We know who you are. And, you know, I can now say hello if I see you at Walmart or something. But to show our appreciation, we have certificates to present to you.
First certificate is for the Honorable Mayor, Carlos Sherman. Our next certificate is for Chief Steve Rose.
Can I get one last plug too? I want you to, if you have time, go to a YouTube video. It's called The Most Dangerous Weapon in Law Enforcement. It's about 18 minutes long on TED Talks. It's really good. You write it down. The Most Dangerous Weapon in Law Enforcement, TED Talks. It's on YouTube. It's very good. Thank you.
Our next certificate is for Chief Malik Alawiz. Our next certificate is for Police Captain Terry Baker. Certificate for Chief Robert Brown.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have some business cards here. If I can ever assist you in any way, please don't hesitate to give me a call.
And last but not least, Chief Cheryl.
Thank you so much. And now if we can invite President of Southwest Dallas Alumni Chapter, Pierre Crenshaw, to give our final remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. This has been an amazing experience. I would like to thank each of the police chiefs that are represented here. And I got tickled. I said, well, wow, I've lived in almost every one of those cities except Lancaster in the last 30 years. But it has been enlightening to us. Some of the key words or buzzwords that I had written down, that I heard, I wrote down: faith, transparency, communication, relationships, being fair, and accountability. And I believe all of you have displayed those traits in your presentation to us today. I'm sure if you stop me, I'll smile and say, yeah, I was a speeding officer. But, and I probably was. But this has been a very, very enlightening experience. Chief Rose, I know when you retire as police chief, you will then go into the ministry. I have no doubt. However, also, I really do appreciate you guys, and hopefully all of you have some form of faith, because it is a faith walk. Delta Sigma Theta was founded on Christian principles, so we are in line with your theology and your method of getting the point across. You are humans. You are not just an institution. You are humans. And yes, you do have family and you do have children in the communities and you do want to go home at the end of the night. But we have to do our part. We have to stop and listen and obey. And we have to teach our children to stop, listen, and obey. I don't have any male children. Me and my husband, we were blessed with 4 daughters, so I think we were fortunate. We didn't have that, but a couple of them have got speeding tickets. Police Chief Brown. But you know, but the wonderful program there, they had to go to teen court. My daughter was mad. I said, yeah, you going, because I'm not paying the ticket. Yeah, you going. But those are the type of programs that we need to show our teens that you guys aren't bad. Y'all are husbands. Y'all are somebody's husband. You're somebody's dad, uncle, brother. And so, and in the case of our female police chief, she's a mother, an aunt, a sister. And so we applaud each of you in the efforts you've shown in the greater Southwest as well as the city of Dallas. And I know your hands are really, really full in the city of Dallas because it is such a big metropolitan area. And there are so many other instances versus 67 that Chief Rose has to deal with. But we appreciate that. We appreciate that. And this has been a great effort on the part of Dallas alumni to President Sharon Wald Hunt. Thank you, my sister. We enjoy each other's company. To the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta, if you'll just stand so we all can see you. The combined chapter represents about 700 ladies in the city. We are excited. Thank you, and we will continue to communicate and dialogue between you, Mayor Sherman. We appreciate you. I even lived in your city for a while. I'm telling you, every one of these, except Lancaster, I've lived in at some point over the last 30 years. To each of you who took time out of your busy schedule, thank you for coming. Please take time to come up to the chiefs, introduce yourselves afterwards, take pictures, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much.
All right.